Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. In the previous episode, we followed every step of the challenging journey of Tiểu San and Hoai as they decided to embark on IVF, a path that requires not only physical endurance but also immense emotional strength. From the very first days of continuous hormone injections, when Tiểu San's body had to adjust to uncomfortable changes, to the quiet moments where she endured exhaustion without a single complaint, all of these became milestones that neither of them could ever forget. Then came the egg retrieval, a moment filled with both hope and anxiety. Hoai stayed by her side, watching every small change in her condition, while Tiểu San tried to remain calm, even though deep inside she couldn't stop feeling uneasy. After that was the embryo creation process, a stage where everything seemed to be left to waiting and faith. There were no guarantees, nothing that could be predicted. Only hope held on like a fragile yet incredibly important thread. And then the moment the embryo was transferred. A moment that seemed quiet, without noise or excitement, yet carried more meaning than anything before. It was the point where all the effort, the worries, the countless attempts were placed into a single belief. A belief that this time things would be different. The days that followed were far from easy. The waiting period for results was not only long in time but also heavy in emotions. Each passing day required Tiểu San to stay steady, to try not to overthink, even though her mind was constantly filled with questions. Hoai remained there, quietly observing, gently supporting her, not saying much, yet his presence became the strongest source of comfort that kept Tiểu San from feeling alone. And then, after everything they had been through, what they had been waiting for, hoping for every single day, finally came. The test results were ready, a result they had imagined so many times, yet never dared to be certain it would truly happen. The embryo had successfully implanted. Tiểu San was pregnant. The moment arrived so gently, yet all emotions seemed to burst at once. Hoai stood still, as if he hadn't fully processed what he had just heard. His eyes fixed on Tiểu San's face, as if trying to confirm once again that it was real. As for Tiểu San, she didn't say anything at first. Just a brief silence, but enough for all the emotions she had been holding back to rise up. Then tears quietly fell. Not tears of weakness, but tears of release, of happiness after such long days of waiting, of finally touching something they once thought might be so far out of reach. No need for many words, no need for grand expressions. Just a look, a hand held tightly, was enough for both of them to understand that they had made it through a journey that was anything but easy. And now what they received was not something grand but simply an opportunity. An opportunity to begin again, to keep hoping, to believe that all their efforts were worth it. A new journey quietly begins. But this time everything is different. If before they were moving forward in search of something uncertain, now they continue with something that already exists. No longer days spent searching for hope, but days learning how to protect that hope. A different journey begins, one of carefulness, of very real worries, of emotions woven between joy and fear. Because once you finally have what you've long wished for, the fear of losing it becomes even greater. And for Tiểu San and Hoai, the road ahead, though still unknown, will surely be one they walk together without letting go. No longer a journey to find a child, but a journey to keep their child. A journey that requires more than strength. It requires patience, faith, and the love they have built together throughout everything they have been through. In the very first months, nothing was easy. Stepping forward from the moment when hope had just been confirmed, when the pregnancy result became something real and tangible, Tiểu San and Hoai understood that the journey ahead would not be any lighter. In fact, it would demand even greater care than before. If the days before were filled with anxious waiting, then now were the days of preservation, holding on to everything little by little, where even the smallest detail could not be taken lightly. After IVF, Tiểu San's body became far more sensitive. The changes were not only internal but also clearly visible in every small sign. She could no longer live as she once did. no longer move freely or carry out her usual activities. Everything seemed to slow down, become gentler, and required much more careful consideration. She strictly followed every instruction from the doctor, not missing a single detail. From her diet, her rest schedule, to even the way she moved around the house. Everything was handled with absolute caution. Things that once felt simple now became actions that needed to be carefully thought through before doing. There were days when Tieu San almost stayed in one place the entire time. Not because she didn't want to move, but because she didn't dare to. She didn't dare to walk too much. She didn't dare to let herself get tired. She didn't dare to try anything beyond the limits she had set for herself. Her room became more familiar than ever. The space around her seemed to shrink, leaving only the safe things she could control. Time passed slowly, each hour, each day felt clearly, no longer rushing as before. It wasn't because she was weak, but because she was afraid. A fear that could not be clearly named, yet always existed. The fear that even a small careless action could make all the previous efforts meaningless. The fear that what she had just gained could be lost at any moment. That very fear made her more careful, but it also made her exhausted in a completely different way. And through all of this, Hai was always there. Not loud, not showy, but his presence never left her side. He rearranged his work, adjusted his entire routine, just to spend as much time as possible with her. Not out of mere responsibility, but because he understood that she needed him more than ever. From small things like preparing meals, cleaning the house, reminding her to take medicine on time, to paying attention to every little change in her condition throughout the day, he did everything naturally. No one had to remind him, no need to prove anything. Everything came from genuine care. There were times when Tieu San felt too tired to speak. There were moments when she simply stayed silent, her gaze distant, as if thinking about things she couldn't put into words. Hai didn't ask too much. He simply sat beside her, held her hand, and kept just enough silence. No need for grand words. Just being there was already a comfort. And it wasn't just Hai. Hai's mother also began to change in a way that even Tieu San might not have expected. There were no longer invisible distances, no lingering thoughts that kept things apart. Instead, there was closeness, care shown clearly through every action. She paid attention to every meal Tieu San had, carefully preparing suitable dishes, gently reminding her to rest on time. Her words were no longer imposing but warm, like a quiet way of expressing her concern. No need for too many words. Just through the way she stayed, the way she cared. It was enough for Tieu San to feel the change. A change that made the atmosphere in the family different. Warmer. More connected. And it seemed that everyone was now moving toward the same goal. Protecting the precious life they had just received. The first 3 months passed in almost absolute caution. Each day was an act of preservation. Each week was another weight. Every hospital checkup carried emotions that were hard to describe. There was anticipation, there was worry, and there was hope intertwined within it all. But then, every time they heard the baby's heartbeat, it felt like a moment of relief. The sound wasn't loud, yet it was enough to chase away so many fears. Enough to calm the worries, even if just for a while. Enough for the whole family to truly feel that life was there, growing day by day. With each moment like that, their faith grew a little stronger. Their hope deepened a little more. And after all those days of waiting, they began to believe that maybe this time everything would be okay. No longer a fragile belief like before, but a belief that had slowly found its place. That what they were trying so hard to protect was truly moving in the right direction. That this journey, though still long, now seemed to have a clearer light ahead. Perhaps happiness was no longer something far away, but something that, day by day, little by little, was coming closer to them. But life is never easy. Even after they had made it through what once felt like the hardest days, When hope had finally become something real, life still had its own ways of testing people. Nothing is ever absolutely certain, and no joy comes without quiet worries lingering behind it. And then one day, a day that seemed just as ordinary as any other, something that none of them ever wished for happened. Tieu San's body began to show unusual signs. At first, it was just a slight discomfort, nothing too obvious but enough for her to notice. She didn't say anything right away, quietly feeling it, trying to reassure herself that it might just be normal changes. But the feeling didn't go away. The pain became clearer, no longer fleeting, but a heavy, lingering ache that slowly stretched over time. It wasn't severe enough to make her collapse, but it was enough to make the worry inside her grow little by little. A worry she had tried to suppress for so long now seemed impossible to hide. Hai noticed something was wrong. He didn't hesitate, not for even a second. He immediately took Tieu San to the hospital. This time, the atmosphere was completely different. There was no longer that mix of anticipation and hope like in previous visits. No more eyes waiting for good news. Only a heavy silence filled the air. Every minute in the waiting room felt longer than usual. Neither of them said a word. Only brief glances quickly avoided, as if both were trying not to think about the worst. The doctor began the examination. Everything proceeded as usual, but the atmosphere was no longer the same. The silence stretched on. There were no immediate explanations, no reassuring signs, just a pause that made their hearts sink. And then, the doctor gently spoke. The voice wasn't rushed, not heavy, but enough to make everything clear. That Tieu San's body was not adapting well to the pregnancy, that there were signs, not as expected, and there were signs of rejection. In that moment, no sound truly echoed, but it felt as if something had shattered. Everything seemed to stop for a brief second, but long enough for all emotions to come crashing down at once. Tieu San said nothing. She didn't react immediately. Her gaze simply lowered slightly, as if she didn't want to see anything anymore. And then, tears quietly fell. No sobbing, no outburst, just silent tears. But they carried everything she had been holding back all this time. No one blamed her. There were no words of accusation. No one said she had done anything wrong. The doctor gently explained that this was a natural response of the body, that some things cannot be controlled, that this was not her fault. Those words were clear, logical, but for Tieu San, they were not enough, because some pain cannot be eased by reason alone. She began to blame herself. No one told her to. She asked herself the questions. She wondered, had she done something wrong? Was there a moment she wasn't careful enough? Did she miss something without realizing? Why, after everything she had tried, after everything she had endured, did it still end like this? Those questions had no answers. Yet they kept repeating, over and over again, without stopping. The days that followed were filled with a very different atmosphere. No more small joys like before. No more hopeful eyes. Tieu San became quieter, spoke less. Her answers grew shorter. The silences grew longer. Her smile slowly disappeared. Not because she was trying to be strong, but because she no longer had the energy to feel anything else. Even though Hai was still there, even though he did everything he could, still caring, still taking care of her, still gentle as always, even though Hai's mother was there too, still worried, still encouraging, still trying to bring her warmth. But this pain, no one could carry for her. No one could step inside her emotions to fully understand. It was a void, an invisible void, yet one that existed so clearly. A void that only Tieu San could truly feel the weight of. Hai saw everything. It wasn't that he didn't understand. He was hurting too, in his own way, but he didn't know what else to do. No words were enough to comfort her. No action could bring things back to how they were. And so, he chose to stay by her side, quietly, patiently, without pressure, without demands, just waiting for the moment she could step out of the thoughts holding her back, waiting for the moment she could look at everything again, in a gentler way. And perhaps, this was the greatest challenge they had to face. Not the injections, not the physical pain, not the IVF journey with all its hardships, but how they faced loss, how they faced something no one ever wished for, how they faced the feeling of having touched hope, only to let it slip away. Could Tieu San overcome this pain? Could she find her faith again? After everything that had happened, could she stand up again and keep moving forward? And Hoai, the one who had always been by her side, what would he do to hold on to their hope? What would he do to not only stay beside her, but truly help her heal? All of this will be revealed in the next episodes. If you've watched until now, don't forget to leave a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to continue this journey with us. See you in the next video.
Hello mọi người, chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay và lắng nghe câu chuyện mà mình chia sẻ. Hy vọng rằng những câu chuyện mình chia sẻ sẽ giúp mọi người có niềm vui trong cuộc sống và giúp mọi người vui vẻ hơn sau một ngày làm việc mệt mỏi. Hiện tại thì những video của mình đang được phát hành vào khung giờ 7 giờ tối và 7 giờ sáng tại Việt Nam. Nếu mà mọi người yêu thích và muốn lắng nghe những câu chuyện của mình thì nhớ like, share, bật chuông thông báo để nhận thông báo khi mình đăng video mới nhất. Cảm ơn mọi người đã ủng hộ kênh của mình và đồng hành cùng mình trong suốt thời gian vừa qua. Hy vọng rằng mọi người vẫn sẽ yêu thích và đồng hành cùng mình trong những video tiếp theo. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người và cảm ơn mọi người đã lắng nghe một phút chia sẻ của mình.